are listening to Expression Radio.
Expression Radio.
Right. Welcome to yet another incredible episode of Intimate Connections brought to you by Expression Radio. This is the audio visual experience. And today's topic is one of those taboo topics that most people either avoid talking, lack knowledge and understanding about, perhaps due to its vast to Bastia.
Hello, everybody. We are on the most exciting show. My name is Devon Shenkina, your host for today, and Intimate Connection brought to you by Expression Radio, the audio-visual experience. We are kind of having a technical problem here and there, and I believe that my co-host, Hopoto Seth Chawan, will join us shortly. And
back.
before, hello, are you back?
I'm back. Yes.
Oh, great stuff.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Tebogo. I have no idea what is happening with the connections this side, but as I was saying that we're going to be having one of the most taboo yet critical conversations this afternoon, and we have the honor of having Samuel Shapiro, who's going to be part of this conversation going forward. We hope to bring about education, enlightenment, and also just provoke thought and perpetuate a conversation that is necessary to be had rather by families, friends, communities, and etc. And on that note, man, we just want to welcome everyone to Intimate Connections, the place where the heart meets the mind. I am Hopoto Seth Chawane, and as my beautiful lady here has already introduced herself, she is Tebogo Nwasheng. And without any further waste of time, I'm going to ask Samuel to unmute his mic so we can also bring him into the conversation so that he can formally introduce himself and tell us who he is, where he's from, and what he's all about. Welcome, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. And how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for having me on your show.
It is an honor as all ours.
My name is Samuel Shapiro. I work at the Other Foundation as the research officer. The Other Foundation is it's sort of a trust. We raise money to give to LGBTI groups around Southern Africa, so in multiple countries, to effectively do advocacy in those countries. What makes us different is we are locally born, we fundraise, we use participatory grant making to give out our money, but really our aim is to change the narrative on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people in Southern Africa. There's a narrative, we'll get to it, we'll talk about all of these things, but that's
of course.
Thank you.
I love the fact that you state the fact that we are part of what you guys do at the Other Foundation is to change the narrative, and we've seen a shift throughout time since the 1980s to date. There has been some kind of a paradigm shift in how now the LGBTQI community is now being understood, is now being welcomed and embraced. And before we get any further, I just want the beautiful flower, the only rose amongst the thorns, to just say hi to the people and welcome. It is an honor to have you, Tebogo. It's an honor to have you on this show. This is the new kid on the block, yo.
Dumelang Bagageshu, ka lebitso ke nna Tebogo Nwasheng. As my co-host has mentioned, it's such a beautiful time and place to be on Intimate Connections. So Intimate Connection is that missing voice that we need to start a conversation amongst family, friends, and community. And we aim to unearth the taboo but yet critical talks that, if spoken about, will liberate many from the snow of life that easily entangle us. So Intimate Connection is the place where the heart meets the mind. So our topic today is same-sex marriage. What a taboo conversation it is for many people.
Yes.
I remember when I was, informing my sister about this topic, you know what she did? She just opened her eyes wide, like, what? And I'm like, yes, we need to talk about these things. We need to, be free because it's happening, it's real, and it's around us.
I love that. I love everything that you said there. And also, I remember when we were given the topic, I was like, can I not do this topic? It's too heavy, it's too big. Also because of the negativity that has been associated with this topic throughout time and all of that. And I think this is part of what we're trying to do to break the ice and bring everybody to be inclined or to be in sync with where the direction of the world is. People are moving in a certain direction. We're starting to see people being able to embrace the difference. And that's what we want to do. But anyway, Shapiro, Samuel, you mentioned that part of the work that you guys do is to fund the LGBTQI community. I struggle with LGBTQI pronunciation, but I'll try. To fund somebody told me to call it the alphabet community because I keep swallowing my tongue every time I do that. So I think for purposes of this show, I'll just refer to them as the alphabet community. That when we look into history, as far back as the 1980s, we know how vile society has been to the gay and lesbian community out there, how they've been treated different as though they were not part of the human race. In some parts of the world, they would even arrest and even murder should they find out that a man and another man are having some kind of a romantic relationship and all that. What would you say are some of the critical conversations that we need to start having in as far as alleviating some of those fears, especially for people that are in those spaces and are trying to come out but don't know how to do so?
Wow. Heavy question.
I know, right?
So I think the first thing we need to understand is that this isn't somewhere else or in another time. Homophobia, transphobia have this incredibly long past that stems well past the colonialism and into various interpretations of religion. So there's been homophobia and transphobia for a very long time, but there is still homophobia and transphobia. People are still being arrested in South Africa despite our laws. People are still being beaten up. People are still being abused. People are still being raped. So the laws and attitudes are two different things that need to be talked about. And I think we need to, a conversation about law is easy. Like, I think we can talk about it in a very like academic-y way and a sort of up in here way, but that talk about attitudes is where it really touches people's hearts. Why do people have these beliefs? What is running these beliefs? What's making these beliefs exist? And how do we share with people the harm that these beliefs have? So I think those are the two big conversations that need to be had.
Deborah?
I agree with what Samuel is doing. He's saying, and looking at Africa as a continent, I see a huge gap. Because it's only South Africa that is really trying to involve all their citizens, regardless of religion, regardless of culture, regardless of whatever beliefs that people might be having. And looking at same-sex marriage, it's only South Africa in the whole continent of Africa that has legalized same-sex marriage. And I see that in the whole wide world, I might be corrected on that, Samuel, it's only a total of 29 countries that have actually legalized same-sex marriage. And it looks like there is a lot to be done. There is a lot yet to be done. And I just want to ask Samuel in that regard, what are they doing in terms of trying to, involve all citizens or all people in, accessing their rights and being able to, express what they feel and do what they like without being labeled as abnormal or not, inclusive.
Okay, so the first thing, and I know this conversation is about same-sex marriage, but I'm just going to sort of throw it back at you that maybe the conversation's the wrong conversation. And let me challenge you in this way. So yes, South Africa is one of the only countries that has legalized same-sex marriage, and that stems from our constitution, which very specifically prohibits bias or prejudice towards people's sexual orientation. However, the rest of Africa, especially in Southern Africa, it's not that there's no progress, it's not that there isn't anything there, it's that there's different ways of going about it. There's different means to achieving it. And so first, let me start with sort of the flaw in the South African model, because we can celebrate. Yay, we've got I'm a marriage officer, I can marry gay people anytime we want. The flaw comes in that law came in without attitudinal change. So you'll see even in our civil union law, which is designed specifically to help gay people get married, has a clause in it that allows for Home Affairs officials to discriminate. There's always these checks and balances because, frankly, the religious community lobbies for these checks to be put in place. We'll get into why they do that later. But it's a constant movement, but we're still seeing widespread violence towards lesbians and gay men, particularly. Transgender people are still being kicked out of their homes. The law being changed around same-sex marriage doesn't really get felt as much on the ground. And what we're learning from other African countries is that the whole conversation has to change. That same-sex marriage is a campaign that comes from Western countries, it comes from Northern countries, and although it's powerful and good, and everyone should have the right to get married to whoever they want, it's not a either-or situation. It's if we're going to touch people and touch their hearts and touch their souls, we have to sort of move how the conversation is talked about. So our research in Malawi, for instance, I'll talk about South Africa and Malawi, where we've done research on what attitudes there are to LGBTI people. And what we found was transgender people, for instance, or people who present differently to what people want them to present as, isn't nearly as discriminated against as gay men or gay women are discriminated against. And when we boil down where those biases are coming from, you'll see they're coming from ideas of family, ideas of children, and stemming from religion, ideas of what the Bible says, essentially. I know there are other religions around, but the main religion is Christianity. So stemming from, and not even what the Bible says, but sort of what the peer groups and leaders around the Bible are saying. So for us, it's not about just sort of doing these campaigns on same-sex marriage or quite policy-orientated campaigns, but it's far more about doing theology, challenging this narrative in the Bible, taking the Bible back, because you can fight the Bible as much as you want, but the truth is the Bible is a wonderful book. It's a book that spreads love. It's a book about love. You can really read a lot of power in it. And in terms of same-sex marriage, the campaign that works better, and I'm not going to say works better, we haven't got nearly enough information for that, but a different way of thinking about it is to approach it as we're welcoming of difference. Should people that are different be excluded from our society? And the large proportion of South Africans, of Malawians, say no. You'll see in our South African research, it says, we ask one question: should there be constitutional protection for gender non-conforming people? And for every one person that said no, 2 people said yes. So even if people's beliefs are wherever they are, there is this overarching value in South Africa, but in Southern Africa as a whole, that prejudice and abuse and exclusion of people who are different is wrong. And so if we frame our way of talking about LGBTI issues, whether it's same-sex marriage, whether it's gender identity, whether it's abuse, whether it's education to religion to anything, we've got to take that framework that we all have a value basis to work from. You can call it Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Chilangama. There's a bunch of different value bases that African communities have that we need to talk to, because talking to a sort of liberal ideology, sort of policy based like same-sex marriage, which again, not either or, both, it misses a lot of people. It misses the idea that gay and lesbian people have children. It misses the idea that all families are different. But it also, I mean, I could talk for ages about this. I can hear that I'm going to just ramble on forever. I'm going to stop.
It's okay with us. We're not complaining. Interesting stuff you bring. Interesting points you bring in there, and I'm inclined to agree with you, especially when you're talking about the religious community having, being the most influential, preeminent sort of like a religious group. And most of the and it's not saying all, but most of the negativity in as far as embracing the difference that you're mentioning about stems from the sundry times, and as far as when the Bible came into effect and people started believing in it and perpetuating it, and we see also how that has somehow found some kind of a clashing of some sort when it comes to culture and tradition, in as far as the African ideologies, even as you put it, come into effect. But also, I just wanted to now take just a detour and just observe a video we're going to play just right about now that speaks to the constitutionality of same-sex marriage and how and what the attitude of the parliament was when it was passed. And also we'll get to, in the video, get to see what other people's idea and thinking is around the whole same-sex marriage thing. So ready when you are, Mr. Producer, and we'll engage straight after this.
To be the cornerstone of Chief Whip of the majority party, the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. Passing the Constitution in 1996 recognized the fact that our nation's equality should be the cornerstone of the society we want to build. In order to give effect to the Constitutional Court ruling, same-sex couples had to be allowed to marry so that they can enjoy the status, obligations, and entitlements enjoyed at the moment by opposite-sex couples. The bill allows for both same-sex and opposite-sex couples to choose the option of having their union solemnized and registered as a civil partnership by a state-employed marriage officers. Before this House indeed provides such a remedy. The objects of the Civil Union Bill are to provide for the public. The bill provides for same-sex couples to be married by civil marriage officers and such religious marriage officers who consider such marriages not to fall outside the tenets of their religion. And of course, the regulation of domestic partnerships. I must thank all members.
I don't know if you're on our press list. Did you receive the statement from the organised lesbian and gay sector? You're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the articles. I don't know if you quoted the other.
I think the passing of this bill really is an historic event for South Africa, and it reflects a deepened commitment to our constitutional values of equality, freedom, and human dignity. And there's no doubt that there is certainly opposition to the matter of same-sex marriage, but I think that the passing of this bill reaffirms our challenge and our commitment to living in diversity. As soon as the bill becomes enacted and people can in fact go ahead and get married, I'm sure that we'll see many lesbian and gay couples rushing off to the nearest magistrates' courts, some of them even to their religious leaders, to get engaged in civil marriage contracts. So yes, we do anticipate that to happen.
Still on a more macro level. I mean, started off the whole discussion of
For me, I don't think it's good. Because, I mean, after all, God did not create Adam and Adam. He created Adam and Eve. And then legal-wise, the Constitution does say everybody has the right to equality. And then having to, the Marriage Act only saying men and women, it does discriminate against people. And then, but at the end of the day, you cannot govern the country on morality. You have to govern it on fairness.
Well, I mean, everyone should, there is such a thing as freedom of speech, but personally, from my perspective, because I'm quite a religious person, I don't agree with it. But I mean, everyone, I think there is such a thing as freedom of speech.
I think so, because this bill will force people to actually accept gays and lesbians, to accept them and realize that we all have equal rights, realize that we're all governed by the Constitution, and if people can accept that, then gays and lesbians will feel free to come out and not be ostracized by society. And you know, I think they should just go for it.
Well, there you have it. Well, there you have it. And we've seen different viewpoints there, from the parliament all the way to the streets, and how people have been responding to the whole notion of same-sex marriages, and how it has progressively throughout time been seen as a more almost welcomed kind of an idea of living. And also I picked up from the video that there is a particular stance that the religious group is on, and we see even how they express their viewpoint around the whole thing based on the Adam and God did not create Adam and Adam notion. It is a notion, in my opinion, that has for the longest of time ostracized people in some way or the other, in that it discriminates against people's freedom of expression in as far as their being is concerned. I want to find out from you, Samuel, what your reaction is with the video that we just played right about now.
Thank you. So I think it was quite easily summed up that there's these two conversations. I think there is this legal conversation, and everyone you can see, and that is represented in our research. So it's not just one person's opinion. There is this huge group of moderately religious people who are very tolerant and do believe that our constitution should protect everyone. And I don't think we should lose that. We should use that messaging. However, I also don't think we should give up the Bible so quickly. I think it's not, I mean, I could rebuke every topic and every talking point someone says, like Adam and Adam and Adam and Eve, with another Bible quote that says something else. So we could talk Genesis 19, and the very same little book is about accepting people. It's about accepting strangers, about welcoming them into your home, about not being exclusionary. So I think a lot of the conversation in religion has that weird, you heard the other woman also say it, it's my personal belief. And I think it's great that that personal belief they don't think it should affect other people. But even that personal belief, if it's based on religion, to me, I challenge you. I don't think you're reading the Bible right. I think you're seeing parts of the Bible in Leviticus that are simply not echoed anywhere else. Throughout the Bible, there's multiple different kinds of marriages and relationships that are condoned by God and are blessed, from Jacob and all the tribes that came from him. I mean, these marriages were seen as blessing, despite the fact that they don't fit into the narrow view religious people would like to tell us that marriage is right now. I mean, the story, like if you go back all the way in history of what marriage was, the religious community, the churches hijacked marriage. It wasn't a religious thing. It is about two people coming together, two groups coming together, and they used it as a way to control families. They used it as a way to make society fit into this block and I mean, we could go on why they do it. I had a conversation with a reverend about this very show to talk to him about why the religious community does these things. But they do. They lobby on same-sex marriage acts, where in the very same Leviticus there's a whole bunch of other things that should be banned and discriminated against, but they're not lobbying the shellfish industry. They're not lobbying the manufacturing industries. They're lobbying on same-sex marriage because it cuts to the core of what families are and what power families have and the different kinds of families. And if churches allow those different kinds of families to exist, then they're a peaceful, wonderful society that has love around them, but no power. And so you'll find where these religious communities do spread homophobia, do spread transphobia, that it's an attempt to control, it's an attempt to remain relevant, it's an attempt to keep power, and we have to fight it, but not fight it by saying religion's wrong. And I think a lot of us have discarded religion because it doesn't let us in. It excludes us. And when you go to the books, when you go to communities, when you do Bible readings, and I please go out and look at Ujamaa Center in Pietermaritzburg, what the theologists are doing there, what the seminaries are doing there. I'm not just saying this. This work is being done by theologians around the world. Queer theology, if you want to give it sort of a hashtag, where the Bible's being reinterpreted, the Bible's being looked at again through the lens of love, which is what we're supposed to be looking at the Bible through. And finding that it's about acceptance, commitment, family, and the harm that's being done on the other side is immeasurable. It really is immeasurable, to the point where people are dying, people are homeless, simply because certain leaders want to hold on to power and relevance. And I'll stop now because, again, I could go on forever.
You should come on, Samuel. I just love your insights.
Yeah, Sam, you touched on the family with regard to the same-sex marriage. And I believe that our constitution as well has allowed that couples, same-sex couples, can also adopt children jointly. And, it's also like they can also arrange for, in vitro fertilization and surrogacy treatment. So I just want you to explain to us, how does that work out, and so that we can understand the family setting in the same-sex marriage.
I can give you a personal story on this one. So I have 2 lesbian mothers. So when they had me and they decided to have me, it was illegal. It was in 1988, and it was illegal for gay couples to have in vitro fertilization. So they did it themselves. They did it in the parking lot of, where did they say? It was a parking lot of Eastgate Mall. And so they found a way to have a family. They found a way to have children, but they did so without a doctor. They did so without help. They did so without recognition from their community and government that that's what they were doing, was starting a family. And now, because it's legal, because we have these protections, people can do it safely. People can do it. I know many couples using surrogacy. I know many couples using in vitro. I know many couples who adopt and have children from past relationships. Our families are these, not one family is the same as another family. We all have these stories. We all have these people. We all have things going on. And so it's important for us to recognize that, respect that, and give shape and meaning to that. And South Africa does do that. I think it's a big struggle in other Southern African countries, particularly, to do that. But it moves past same-sex marriage. Again, we must look past these little definitions from the North and West that say we're doing well. It's also about gender. It's also about gender and how we see gender and how people choose gender. It's also about discrimination against intersex people. With patriarchy, all the things I've just talked about have shaped who we are in a very narrow field. And we have to escape that in our minds and in our communities, which are escaped, but they're trapped by these very few and very easily break-downable ideas. And the more contact people have, our research is very clear that the more contact people have with LGBTI people, the more tolerant they are. So it's the more we do, the more we come out, the more we are proud, the more we are who we are, then the society will follow. And all of and the laws will come. The laws can come as they come. And in South Africa, you can see it's a great commitment. It's even past the video. There's a further commitment that's happened in that even that act that got passed, there was a section that allowed for Home Affairs officers to not marry you because they don't believe same-sex marriage is allowed, which is blatantly unconstitutional. But the religious groups, and you can see their power. You can see that we're not just working with, it's not just a debate we're having. There's a lot of power in the churches to influence our communities, to influence our policies, to influence our government. And getting that section in the Civil Union Act is proof that it's not, we're not just having a conversation here, that we are fighting quite powerful people. But the government, once again, with the work of OUT, who we saw in the video, and a lot of other groups, have challenged that section and are removing that section. We're challenging the old Marriage Act, which is still in effect from 1961, which allows children to get married and has multiple other problems. But the religious community has stopped us during these policy changes and have been allowed to do it because attitudes haven't changed. Governments are still scared that people will be like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. And so we have to let the law and let the work happen with laws, and it is happening, and we need to support it all the way. In Botswana, they recently said that the penal code law about unnatural sexual relationships, I don't know the exact wording, is unconstitutional in Botswana. And so you can see this idea is spreading that colonial era laws that have driven homophobia and transphobia are being removed and being erased. And we're embracing the fact that pre-colonization, these weren't really conversations that we were having. Transgender people, homosexual people existed, were there. We have thousands of examples of how it have not only existed, but was celebrated in various different contexts. So break down the narrative, break down the idea that it's un-African. It's not. We have proof. We can talk to millions and millions of gay, lesbian, transgender people who are African who can tell you very otherwise. We can break down if it's un-Christian. It's not un-Christian. I can show you a million Bible quotes that show how love is the driving force of Christianity, acceptance and tolerance. And if it's a pathology, unfortunately, HIV/AIDS ravaged our country, still ravages our country, where people are dying every day. And homophobia and transphobia meant that huge groups of people, millions of people, like we're not talking a tiny group of people. Yes, it's a minority, but it's a big minority. We're not being given the healthcare that they needed. We're not being treated. But in that fight to get treatment, now suddenly being gay is a illness. So again, we have to fight that pathology again. We have to fight those kinds of narratives. And you do that by showing the diversity of who we are and by reconnecting with our value systems, not trying to be a liberal Western Northern country, which we aren't. And we must fight for things like same-sex marriage because the law must apply equally. But it's about the law applying equally, not about same-sex marriage. And if we can center our conversations around those base values, I think we're going to have a lot more progress, because people don't want to hate. Go ask any mother of an LGBTI child. They're struggling. They've gone in the closet themselves, because shame from community is there, but their love for their child is so strong. And the parents, sorry about that. And the parents who kick their children out of their homes for whatever reason, being transgender, being gay, being lesbian. Again, you see the power religion has. The love of a parent was overridden by this sort of institution that's telling them what a defined idea of marriage is. So we're fighting something very powerful here. And it's not, if it was true, if they really did believe Leviticus was the guiding force of everything, they would look very different. They don't believe that. They want to control families. They want to control our institutions. And we can't let that happen. And we can't let the LGBTI community be the canary in the coal mine, because it doesn't stop with LGBTI people. Women are equally oppressed in the churches and equally oppressed in our societies. And attitudes towards women are also the guiding factor of that, whether we have laws making women equal or not. So it's those underlying structures that we have to talk about that
I like this guy.
That will start shifting society.
I like this guy.
We want it to.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this guy. You touch on a lot of important aspects, but I personally feel educated after having listened to you speak. You speak profoundly about how the Bible is the book of love that should spread love and acceptance, and for some odd reason we need to be able to embrace difference amongst other things. And you talk about how the attitude of the church, if I may so put it, when it comes to the idea of familyhood, it's centered around power and control, and that I also concur with that, and also there are a lot of misconceptions around same-sex marriages. There's the whole unnaturalness part of it, that notion where people call it unnatural, and which is, for me, it's subjective. Anyone can always motivate why they feel it's natural, in the same way others will say, this is why I think it's unnatural. But I think let's just take another second clip of the video that talks exactly about what you're talking about, where all I could, when I saw this video earlier on, all I saw was two men who love each other and are committed to each other and just want to do life. Let's just take it away. Ready when you are, Mr. Producer. We'll be back straight after that one. And after that, we'll take the comments as well. The video, please.
Welcome to all of you who have come here to share in this important moment in the lives of our Dylan and Wesley.
This is the day when I give my heart away, with every step my heart can't be
promise today to be your navigator, best friend, husband, and I will honor, love, and cherish you through all life's adventures. I swear to always and forever be your confidant and you mine. I vow to keep the kid in you alive, and finally today be my co-captain in life. Lastly, I promise to help you when you need it and step aside when you don't. I will remain faithful to you for better or for worse, and in times of sickness and in health. Let's be awesome together and show the world that love, no matter what. You are my best friend, my go-to guy, my bulala. I promise to love you always.
Now, I want you to quickly fast forward to 20 years from now. Where are you? What are you doing? We all know your visions of the future are not identical, but please know they will always be complementary. Like John Lennon said, a dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together, that is reality. And for both you, Dylan and Wesley, your reality begins now. You have expressed your love to one another through the commitment and promises that you have made. It is with these in mind that I pronounce you husband and husband. You have kissed 1,000 times before, I bet. But today the feeling is new. No longer simply best friends, you have become partners in life. And you now can feel this agreement.
I mean, all I could see was love. I did not see gender for some crazy reason. I just saw a beautiful wedding ceremony where two people just love each other. But before we get into the reactions of what we've just witnessed, let's just take a few comments from social media as well. And I see Jody Washeng, I believe this is one of the Tebogo's family members, saying very informative show. And we are very thankful that indeed is a very informative. And from Silo Ramatsui, he says, hi guys, my take is people are allowed to choose what they want. As to what is wrong is up to them and their God. The God that I know recognizes marriage as between a man and a woman. However, the very same God respects choices and does not impose himself on us. Following him is a choice, and some of us chose that route, and we should respect other people's choices. Very, 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 very true. I agree with you there. What do you make of what do you make up of the video that we just watched, Samuel? I just saw two men who love each other, and I guess that video for me, amongst other things, it nullifies the misconceptions around same-sex marriages or relationships, because for some crazy reason, when people think women and women or men and men, the only thing that comes to mind is the fact that they just have sex. It's almost as though people that have in homosexual relationships, all they do is just have sex. And I think that is one of the other biases that we need to sort of like, be challenged, because when we think heterosexual marriage relationships, we don't think that everybody or everything, all that these two people do is bonk the whole day, because we see how people spend time together, get to know each other, want to do life together, are committed to each other. What is your reaction of what we just witnessed?
So we actually see the opposite. Society says that married couples don't have sex.
Really?
I think that's an interesting way of.
Wow.
I think it's an interesting way again of how our sex is controlled. how there's a structure that wants to control. And that's why our research is it is powerful, because we went into Malawi, we went into South Africa, and we asked questions that removed sex. That was like, it's not about sex, it's about romantic relationships, it's about children, it's about families, it's about love, and it doesn't have to be about children either, Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So how much did you hear? I don't know if I was speaking without any
the first part of your conversation until now, we didn't hear it.
Okay. So basically, I was just saying that sex to me seems to be the bigger taboo, and the reason why, especially the older community, don't really want to talk about it. My brother came out to my parents, and my parents are gay. So to me, there was like, why was it a challenge to come out to our parents? Like, I don't understand that. He was like, no one wants to talk about sex with their children, with their parents. Like, no, that's not a conversation we want to have. And so I think the sexualization of gay people has meant a lot of conversations aren't had. A lot of conversations, a lot of ideas around love aren't had. I'm a marriage officer. I have a great honor of being able to marry a lot of homosexual couples. And
how does that feel for you? Sorry to catch up, but how does that feel for you when you see a lot of same-sex couples coming to the level of marriage, something that was never considered in the past?
I thought so. It's exactly the same as when straight people get married. Everyone's happy. Everyone's delighted. It's this wonderful thing. And I've been surprised actually at how few of the gay couples want me to talk about the struggle. We know there's a long struggle that allowed for this to exist, and the struggle continues for a lot of people. But a lot of people don't want that it was never a struggle to be different. It was a struggle for same human rights everyone else has, the same social justice everyone else has. And they wanted to be about them still, and about their marriage and about their relationship. And I think there's something profound there in that we're winning. You know, we're winning in that not everything has to be this exclamation mark, and that queerness, diversity, difference is becoming normal, dare I say it. And I think it's only in small circles, but for now it is becoming normal. And I love it. And it's love, it's more love. Add more love to the world and you can't go wrong.
Can I ask, Tebogo?
Yeah,
Okay.
I read these articles, and it said that, you know, the scientific studies shows that financial, psychological, and physical well-being of gay people are enhanced by marriage. And it reads on and says that, and that the children of the same-sex parents benefit from being raised by married sex couples within a marital union that is recognized by law and supported by social institutions. Do you support the statement that the article has wrote about sex marriage parenting?
No, my parents screwed me up completely. No, I think it's this idea of when you love someone, the natural next step you want is the community to love them too. And that community is represented in laws and policies and acceptance. And so you'll see that the reason we have these laws is because right at the core of them, right at the beginning, in the heart, someone loved their child. Their child loved someone else, and they were willing to say they love that person, and they're willing to love each other. And so we have to keep harping on about that, and allowing people to love. Let lesbian couples get divorced. You know, like it's not about being different or special or anything like that. It's about celebrating love and what the modern idea of marriage is. Marriage has so many different definitions. That's why someone can say, my definition of marriage is this, and that's great. That's your definition of marriage. You know, go for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will challenge you even on your definition. I think if you say this is my definition, you open yourself up to challenge. But
my definition of marriage is super twisted, so I'd rather not even go on about it, because I think it stems from one's personal preferences or one's point of view, or what one wants for themselves at the end of the day, as opposed to an entire corporate idea.
And let me offer you this, that you can't really refute, is that marriage is consent. And it's consent to love, to be in a relationship, but no one's defining what that is. But it's it's saying consent. And it's saying not that consent isn't something just between two people. My battery's going to die. I forgive you. I'm going to pass over to you just now while I charge it. But consent is also with the community.
So while we allow you to get your phone charged, let's take another video, and so that we can try and bring the two videos, because the other one advocates strongly about love, and the other one, it speaks against hate crimes against the LGBTQI community, a violation of the constitutional rights. So whilst you get your phone charged, can we, Mr. Producer, play us that other video, and then so we can have commentary on both videos in the interest of time, because unfortunately we are soon running out of time. But this has been an incredible conversation.
ActionAid USA invests in local problem solvers in 45 countries who have the power to mobilize and inspire others to change the world around them.
I cannot live my life in isolation. I choose to speak out. I choose to voice out. I choose to claim my space. It's not easy. It's not easy. I've been threatened. Everywhere I go with my partner, it's always an issue. I don't feel safe in the streets because I've already gotten threats from different guys who threaten that I need to be corrected. How can I be a woman who also dates women? So where I live, it's not a safe space, because you find that there's different people from different cultures who believe that men are entitled to women's body. In this abandoned building where we found one of our friend's bodies here, lying here, she was murdered brutally. How we found her, she was strangled with her shoelace, her pants were down, beaten up, and there was a big hole on her head. This kind of a crime is common in here. Not so far from here, we also found another lesbian woman who was murdered. My role here is me trying to reach out to the people for us to get this place shut down. Because we cannot be adding up on the stats of women dying in this place or women being raped in this place. Because every time when we pass here, it's more like we get reminded that next time it could be me.
Clinics are a place of hell. Police stations are not safe. Whether you're gay, whether you heterosexual, the mere fact you're a woman is still an issue. If you look at in our country, we have transgender people who some of them have been violated, where their rights have been violated. Clinics are not catered for LGBTIs. We are not part of their structure. One, we are not part of their programs. So those structures are just made for heterosexual people, you know. So for you, if you go to a nurse and say you want to plan a family, you become a joke and you end up being in that little box, you know, because one, you cannot say something back because you fear that you won't be able to get that access. Being part of had made us to be more empowered. We didn't have access to work with to raise awareness in schools. Apparently now we are able to do that, you know, to kind of work with teachers and school, be able to draft a new school code of conduct that will allow learners who are LGBTI to be able to access at school without being victimized. And even clinics, you know, for example, Polyclinic, we have a good relationship because we're working with our Polyclinic closely now, and we're also working with Love Life. The three of us are kind of coming up with a new program that will kind of assist LGBTIs. Ra has created a safe space for LGBTI, but it also kind of educated a lot of people because you can be lesbian, but there are certain things that you do not understand about you as being LGBTI, your rights, you know. We're doing a lot of things, you know, and a lot of LGBTIs are coming out of the closet. Like, I do not live in fear anymore because there are people who are fighting for us, you know. Me being gay is not a problem.
Right. Well, there you have it one more time. Well, there you have it one more time. Interesting, and yet very an emotional video, I must say, because we're seeing a community of human beings who are being not just ostracized, but going as far as being murdered brutally, and that is violating their rights to their human rights to life, you know. And I'm just going to take two comments from Sibongiseni as well as KG before we have commentary on the video, just before we close down this conversation. KG Sidibeng says, powerful conversations. And Sibongiseni Jensen says, very informative show. I like what you guys just spoke about in terms of one's definition of marriage as something subjective and can always be challenged. Most of us are married and have been married. It's just not official. I'm a fucking set. Anyway, so Samuel, so in the first video we saw a gay couple that touched the knot. And on the other, the right to just live and their right needs and services such as hospitals, education, etc. What is your reaction in all of that? And maybe Tebogo, you want to say something before he comments? Let's see.
Yeah, you know that this video really moved me, and it's so sad that the community, what is doing to, you know, our people. It's our people. They are human beings. Whatever that they are doing, it's hurting us as well. So it's really sad, and you know, I just can't get my mind out of it, because this things that are happening. I read something as well this week that one of the gay community members has been, you know, brutally murdered and mutilated as well. You can imagine how brutal that is. So we really need to inform our society that enough is enough, and you don't have the right to violate someone, to kill someone because of their personal preference. And you know, everybody has a right to live, regardless of whatever that they are doing. It might not be what you like or comfortable about. It's like, you can't violate people. You really can't. This just has to stop. It really hurts me to the core, to be honest with you. So it just breaks me. And so it's really bad. It's really bad. And I will hand it over to someone before I show it to you.
Yeah. And what is funny is it can happen to anyone. Anyone can wake up being lesbian, or at some point comes to a realization that this is actually who I am. It can be anyone. You could be the one perpetuating hate, and you give birth to a boy or a girl, and then they turn out the same. What then? Anyway, Samuel, over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that video is a perfect way to sort of end the conversation, because people can say this is our opinion, but their opinion mixed with the institutional power that sort of exists in this world means people die. And it's not just access to families, it's people dying, people being abused. It's very real. So it's not just an opinion people can have. That opinion spreads, that opinion sort of keeps this kind of violence open. There's a statistic, and I'm going to butcher the statistic, and I'm really sorry, but I'm pretty sure it's about 500,000 people in South Africa in the report. So they self-report having been violent towards a member of the LGBTI community in the last year. And so there's far more homophobes and transphobes that are violent, not just I disagree or whatever, than people think. And the brave women in that video are the ones who are speaking out for the thousands who aren't speaking out and can't speak out. And so the systems we were talking about earlier, and the opinions and these beliefs, they're called phobias, but they're not phobias. They're power being enacted on us through us. And we need to get rid of those. And because the harm they're causing is immeasurable. We could talk about homelessness, economic despair. The LGBT community is the cold face to power, and they get hit the hardest and the first always. And so don't think it stops there. It goes to disabled people, goes to old people, goes to young people. Anyone who doesn't fit the shape power wants us to fit in will be persecuted, whether the laws are there to protect you or not. That experience will still exist. And so it is a matter of life and death, this conversation. And that same-sex marriage is one tiny little bit of it. The real hard stuff is attitudes.
That's true. That's true. One last comment that I'm receiving from Sonsini Abraham Jinsu says that I think we as a society that's stuck on labels and having everything labeled and defined, and that hinders most of us from experiencing love. And I cannot agree with him more, because I always say to some of my gay friends that I will never call them that, because to me they just remain men and women. It ends there, because this all labeling thing it's what's bringing about a difficulty even in other people being embraced as people because of these labels and all of that. If we can just do away with definition that is aimed at limiting people from being peasants, I think we'll do a more expedited kind of progress in as far as being able to embrace difference is concerned. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so I'm just going to give to you, Samuel, to give us your closing remarks and just share with us something that will leave us thinking and having a different perspective as to with regards to same-sex marriages, and let us know where can people find you and all of that. And Tebogo, you'll also follow the same thing, and then I'll close it up for all of us when we're done.
No, I think you summed it up really well. And I've talked about a lot people need to think about, but I guess the thing I want to challenge is that don't just accept religious perspective of gay people. Challenge that theology, take back your churches, for lack of a better word.
We love babies on this show. We love babies on this show.
Take back the church.
You know, there we go.
Because there's a lot of power there, and power to love. And, you know, moderately religious people all over the place are full of love. So sit there, talk to people about these issues in a different way. But you said go to the Other Foundation website. We have research papers that have talked to families. We have research papers that talk to people in the church all over the place, and they're not like academic papers. They're really, really like interesting to read and show us a way forward in a lot of these communities. So please visit the website, donate if you can, participate if you can, join that community, because there's a lot of really good work that's happening. And the more people involved, the less backlash there will be to that work. And so get involved.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Awesome. You know, to be honest, I really love what the Other Foundation is doing. You know, when I went to the website and just seeing how they are.
I must commend you, Tebogo, for a great work in as far as bringing a guest is concerned. I want everybody to know that it was Tebogo who put this incredible conversation together on her first show. Kudos to you. Carry on.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm humbled, really, I am. And, you know, I've learned so much. I'm one of those people who are really open-minded, to be honest, and I've learned so much. And as from today, I will see, you know, the gay community differently. And, you know, the last thing that I would like to say is that love, accept, let people be what they want to be. That's my last words.
Right. In the great words of, I believe it's John Keats, if not Maya Angelou, one of them said the following, that people will forget what you said to them. People will forget what you've done for them, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So we all have a natural Maya. Yeah, there we go. So we all have a natural obligation towards humanity to ensure that whoever that we allow or we have ourselves, or to have even ourselves shared with them in the same space, we owe them love, we owe them affection, we owe them compassion, amongst other things. Even Jesus himself, before he addressed the communities or anyone in his space, be it in a synagogue, whatever the case may be, the Bible always mention of the fact that, and Jesus had compassion in his heart before he even started ministering. So even as we're going out there to try and bulldoze people with our religion and all of that, let love lead the way. I think a whole lot of issues will be alleviated if we only let love lead the way. So from me, Kgopotso Tshawane, always remember that tomorrow is a promise and not a fact. Therefore, you should balance between living like there's no tomorrow with living like you'll never die. So from us here at Intimate Connection, it's been great, thought-provoking, and amongst other things, awesome. It's adios, amigos.
You are listening to Expression Radio.
Expression Radio.
Oh. I